Hi everybody, this is Rebecca Keppel. I'm here for Thermoweb today, and I want to show you the brand new Deco Foil Transfer Gel that was just released at CHA in January. This is a super exciting, innovative product that can create dimension on your crafts, and also you can foil that dimension. So you can see some samples that I created here. I used stencils to create this. That's probably the easiest way to use this new Deco Foil Transfer Gel, is to just apply it over a stencil, let it dry, then put your foil on top, run it through your laminator, and you have raised dimension that's also foiled. You can see with the watercolor foils, it is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to apply the gel, and then how to laminate it, and then how to add it to a card. So right now I just have a prototype, so it's not going to look exactly like this. Your bottle will be labeled and have instructions and all those goodies on it. Mine is just a prototype for now, but I'm just using a palette knife and I'm putting a bunch out on the stencil. And then I'm taking a gift card and just getting a real nice smooth finish. I actually don't mind the textured lines, but some people do, and so this is the easiest way to get a smooth finish. You want enough that you're going to get some dimension there. With these tiny little stencils, it's tough to know exactly how much to use. So just when you're done, put the extra back. You can see that I had taped the stencil down with some washi tape. So now I'm going to pull a corner that doesn't have the washi tape, and look, you can see that dimension already. And here you can tell that the adhesive is wet because it's white. Okay, I want to clean my stencil off right away because it is an adhesive and I don't want it to get ruined. Once the adhesive looks clear, it's going to take like an hour. Here, that was a wet one, that's white. The clear one is the dry one. Then I'm going to heat up my laminator. I'm going to give it a good 10, 15, sometimes I give it even 20 minutes to warm up. And I'm going to grab my Deco foil sheets. I love these watercolor sheets. They're absolutely beautiful. You get gradient of color. And I'm going to put the color side facing me. I'm cutting it so that I don't have to run through the whole thing through my laminator for just a small portion. And then what I'm going to do is create a sandwich. Now, Thermoweb gives you some parchment sheets in some of the other products, so you can use that. I'm just using a piece of copy paper here. The benefit of the parchment is that it won't stick to anything, and you'll see that my copy paper does stick to a little bit on the side there. It's not a big deal because I'm going to die cut it down anyway, but just so you know, parchment is probably the best thing to use for this. See that right there, it's stuck a little bit to my paper, but just on the edge, and I'm not going to use that part anyway. You can see the little stencil stars coming through, and then when I peel it away, it's both the dimensional stars and they're foiled. And I love, again, the watercolor, the different colors that you get all on one sheet of transfer. So that is so much fun, and this is a great background for a card. So I've die cut it down to a small rectangle, and I'm going to watercolor over it. I've done this before with foiling. I've used it as a resist, and I'll link to that video here. But I wanted to show you that this new transfer gel, also the foiling will act as a resist too. So I'm using some Tombow markers, and I'm just scribbling them on a piece of plastic that was just some packaging, and then I'm using my Prima water brush to apply the color to the watercolor card. I did use watercolor paper for this, and the transfer gel, it's fine on even 60-pound cardstock. But if you're going to do something like this over top, then I would definitely recommend using watercolor paper. So I'm bringing in some yellows, some greens, just some fun spring colors. And then the favorite color is that blue. I just love that color. So I'm going to bring that in at the top here and just kind of blend everything together with the water brush. And if you miss any spots, you can go back in. You can even do the smooshing technique where you add some water to the acetate and then you just drag your project through it. And I kind of do that at the bottom there just to get that little bit at the edge covered. So I really like the way this is looking, and I'm just going back in again, blending a little bit more. Once I'm done, I am going to heat set this so that I can put my card together. So now that I've heat set it, I've brought out a waffle flower set of stamps, and I'm going to stamp this little bow tie here, but I am going to color it with the Tombow. So I'm using Ranger Archival ink. So I'm just stamping on a little scrap piece of paper because I am going to die cut this out. But before I do that, I'm going to grab some orange and yellow out of the Tombow markers, and I'm just going to quickly color. You can see that this is probably not the best paper to use for this. I was just really using up a scrap piece of paper here, but it does start to pill a little bit just from all the liquid in the markers themselves. They're very juicy, which is awesome, but if you don't use the right paper, you can get some pilling there. I'm okay with it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. You can see I kind of touch it away every once in a while. So I'm just having some fun doing just some basic blending with the orange and the yellow, and you could really use anything for this technique. Same with the watercolor over the background piece. You could just use cakes, watercolor cakes. You could use liquid watercolors, whatever you want. The foil does act as a resist. Even if you use this new transfer gel, your foil will still resist the watercolor. And if you get some on top, you can wipe it away with either a baby wipe or a dry paper towel. So I'm just finishing up here, and once we are done with this, I'm going to use the coordinating die that Waffle Flower has. I'm going to send it through my Sizzix machine and cut it out. But before I do that, I'm going to stamp on the background. I've never done this before, so this was a new thing for me. I decided to see if I could stamp over some of the stars on the bottom, but mostly on the watercolor cardstock. So I decided to use StazOn ink to see if it would work, because the stars are not that dimensional that I felt like it would be a real problem stamping over them, but I wanted to see if this StazOn would work, and I was super happy and surprised to find that it did. You'll see how great. I think it comes out really, really cute. So I'm going to use the StazOn because I don't want it to smear off of the few stars that I end up stamping over. So I'm stamping up the sentiment, "You're beautiful." That's also from that Waffle Flower stamp set. And I have it in my MISTI. This way I can line everything up perfectly. And if I don't get a good impression, I could stamp it again and it'll place exactly where I had it the first time. But surprisingly, it came out great. I thought this was super, super cute. So I'll definitely be doing that technique again. Now I have a little card base there that's from Hero Arts, and I've cut a small white card panel with one of my Lawn Fawn stitch rectangle dies. And I'm going to lay that down. I'm using some Thermoweb Memory Runner XL to adhere everything. I'm going to use the same adhesive to adhere this watercolor panel. I'm going to just make sure that I get all of the edges because I really don't want this to curl or warp. So I'm going to get a lot of adhesive on there, and then I'm going to press down all of the edges so that it stays nice and flat. My last piece of the puzzle is to pop up the little bow, and I'm going to use Thermoweb 3D Zots for that, and I've used 3 of them. I have one on each side of the bow and right in the middle, and I'm kind of sticking it to my fingers accidentally, but no big deal. And there you go. It's super easy to use this new Deco foil transfer gel. It adds both dimension and foiling, so I hope you will check it out. I will have links down below. Thanks so much for stopping by.